Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. I am Evil Mike, and this is going to be my review for comics that came out on September 3rd, 2021. This is going to be my part two, and I have more coming. I'm a little late due to many reasons, and we're not going to get there, but I got them coming, guys. So first off, I would like to say that if you don't know me, and I don't know for what reason this is your first time checking out my reviews, I review everything, the story as a complete whole, so there are major spoilers. I put time codes down in all my major review videos, so if there's one you haven't read, you can skip past, and guess what? I don't mind you skipping. That's why I put the time codes. But if you don't plan on reading it, if you have read it, maybe you haven't read it but you're curious, that's why I do the reviews the way I do the reviews. I'm not here to spoil the fun and everything. I don't review every single detail in the books, but I review a lot. Alright, so with that being said, this is the last issue of Gieger number 6, and I actually have two different books that are the last books. That's why I kind of gave the long song and dance. So we got issue number 6 of Gieger. I think this is, Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Brad Anderson. What a complete story. They kind of set up this in the beginning, and they show you moments in time, like, maybe looks like it says the American Civil War, World War II, like the French Revolution, but they kind of go into this story about the unseen, like, heroes or something like that, and they kind of state that Gieger is one of these unseen heroes, and there have been some of them from across time. We get to the present situation, and a man is telling a story, and like supposedly the whole 6 issues, it's been this guy telling the story about Gieger, the unseen hero. We get here. The king is, this is back in like present day, but the king is rallying his army, and he's ready to go confront Gieger. We are still in NORAD with the kids, and Gieger is in the process of rescuing I think it's the little brother, the one that's sick, who has leukemia. All this was the previous issue, specifically the last, but we see right here, Gieger, comes through and saves the little kid, and there's a little, it's a brief moment, but it's the moment when they tell the little boy that he has been diagnosed with cancer, and Gieger tells him that no matter what, he's there for the boy, that it's not gonna go the way that he thinks, and he's gonna do everything in his power to save him. As that goes on, Barney, his dog, the two-headed wolf, starts going crazy, and sure enough, soldiers are starting to, try and re-kidnap the kids and Gieger, and basically Gieger goes through and takes them all out. One of the other kids that was they show him here, but one of the other kids, he helps them like find the exit route, because the other exit that they were planning on it's all barricaded up now with soldiers and all kind of stuff. They open the door, and of course hinted in the last issue, but we get this guy, and if you give me a second, I'll give you his name because it is kind of important. His name is Junkyard Joe. One of the kid actually recognizes Junkyard Joe because he was a comic book hero. Like in this world, he was a comic book character that the kid had read about. So the kid's kind of like freaking out over here, nuts wise, that it's a comic book character, and of course Geiger's like, what the heck, so Gieger, he starts full on battling, and Junkyard Joe just, he manhandles Gieger left and right, up and down, all on the floor. We do see here that Gieger does eventually go nuts and tries to melt Junkyard Joe, because he thinks he's kind of like Captain America, like a superpowered individual. and finds out that it is not a superpowered individual, that he is a robot. After that, Junkyard Joe really, hypes her up, as you can see. He's knocking through all kind of stuff. Eventually, as they do take the fight outside of NORAD, and the kids know that he has those two rods that go on his back. If those two rods do not go on his back at a certain point, he goes nuclear. He's able to go brief stints without them, but eventually, after the use of so much of his nuclear radiation, he will go, Gieger. So in the process, they are actually trying to get his rods back to him. Junkyard Joe has already took them away from Gieger, threw them away, broke one of them. The kids are trying to get back. It was weird, some sounds. Trying to get back the rods to Gieger, and they do eventually get back one of the rods, and Gieger is able to kind of bat back Joe. I wouldn't say he beats him or anything, not yet, but he does eventually find out where his weak spot is, after kind of batoning him up a little bit, and it's the glow dot on his chest. He does take him out, tells the kids that they need to get the heck out of there, because basically after that he does start to go nuclear. They try to throw another rod over there, and it instantly kind of snaps just the same. So at this time it's both rods are broken. The boy that does have leukemia, after the rods have been broken and they know that he's not going to be able to contain it, he just commands everybody to start running. But at that point, the size of the explosion, there's no point of running. The brother kind of takes it. He has this idea. I don't know. Who knows where the idea comes from? But it's the brief moment in the beginning of the book where Gieger had said to the boy after he had cancer that no matter what, he wouldn't leave him alone and stuff. So the boy kind of reciprocates what he had told, what Gieger had told him, and he grabs him as he's going nuclear. And we see that somehow, some way, it does. Geiger's able to contain the nuclear energy without the rods. At that point, they just kind of gather up, and they pick up the pieces and they start to move on. They locate a Jeep that's nearby, and they start to continue on the journey. We kind of see as as they're taking off in the Jeep that Gieger has not, for one, he has just been in a whole bunch of major battles back to back, so he is not in good shape. But he keeps trying to go nuclear because the rods are not in there, and of course every time it happens, the boy just kind of reaches out and touches Gieger, and the nuclear, it gets contained again for some reason. Maybe it's Gieger, he doesn't want to hurt the kids. It doesn't really go into all that. We do see as they are stopping to take a breather, the king shows up with all his henchmen and a whole bunch of the other. There's it's 4 other kind of factions that are with the king, but it's the pirate is one. This lady is another one of them. She's part of a Hollywood type thing, but we haven't really gotten backstories on all of them yet. We do see that the king commands one of his knights to, basically go fight Gieger, and Gieger tells him, look, no weapons, just, come at me. The guy basically takes a Jeep and tries to run over Gieger, and Gieger goes, full on Gieger, and just, he splits the truck in half and melts everything in it. He does tell the other groups that were with the king, they get all scared and they take off and stuff. The Gieger makes the king a promise that in one day or something like that at midnight, if he shows up at this place, that they're gonna have one last go, and that'll be everything regardless of what happens. The king takes off and kind of goes to regroup and get ready for that occasion. they show Geiger go back to, and I don't know if they do. It's Copper Canyon, Mexico, and he takes the kids to Copper Canyon, Mexico, and it's this facility where they healed Geiger, and it was the doctor who put the rods in his back and stuff like that, helped him contain his nuclear powers in the beginning when he first started to change. He tells the kids that he can't come with them because he's not welcome there. He's done something in the past where they have like a sight on, shoot on kill type thing. They do take the kids in, and that's kind of the last we see of them. And the next situation is the situation where Tariq told the king that he was going to meet him at the certain spot. So of course the king shows up with all his good men again, and our guy Geiger is fired up and powered and ready to go. And yeah, the king is not so smart, because as you can see right here, he brought all his men in one spot, and we know what this guy can do, right? So yeah, he just goes nuclear, and I love the way they show that. So I'm pretty sure that's the end of the king and his men. Now, it was just the king and his men. It wasn't all the different the factions that are in Las Vegas that we've seen. But yeah. So it kind of jumps back to the very beginning of this book with the two guys that are telling the story, and he's kind of telling the story about that was the end of Geiger, that with that explosion, and where they are sitting actually like right at the crater. And as he's telling the story, and the story goes that was the end of Geiger, that with that explosion and him taking out the king and everything, it actually killed himself. They leave it up to like a very mysterious kind of way, because he does say that it's the end, but he also says that it's only the beginning. And I think it really has a twofold thing. I don't really think Geiger died, but we're going to get there in a second. So they go back to all the other henchmen, and this is the king's mom. I guess now it'd be the queen, but they're kind of just setting up their faction and stuff like that, and how the military is evolved. And so we're gonna have to see where that's gonna happen. I think there is an annual that's coming out or something like that, like a bigger. Don't quote me, but I think there's one more Geiger book coming out. But what they are gonna do is they're gonna open up on the unseen part of the books. Like here's Junkyard Joe, and he's gonna get his own book, and it's gonna be like his whole story before Geiger, or maybe it's the unnamed, not the unseen, the unnamed. But they're going to do like a whole timeline where we get all these, and now Geiger is one of these. So each one of those bubbles is going to be a specific hero that we're going to get that connects to this Geiger universe. But overall, really good story, a really good ending. I hope it isn't the end of Geiger, but you never know, it could be. Next up from Boom Studios, we got another last issue, Many Deaths of Laila Starr, issue 5, Ram V, Felipe on the art. One of my top books, man, and what a good ending to a story. We're catching up on a beach. It's actually where the beginning of the story took place, and now it is the ending of the story. We found out that Darius is here. Darius is the one that the whole story is about. He's supposedly at some point has supposed to have created immortality, and that's why our real main character, Laila Starr, has lost her job being death, because he created immortality, and there's no more death in the world. So we catch up. The last time Darius and Laila Starr had a conversation, it didn't go so well. Darius was kind of mad at her and everything. We do catch up right here with this little girl, and she has found a dog that is dying or almost dead. Been abandoned and left, and she takes it to the old man, because the old man is known to cure things. There is some kind of agreement in this village where if they bring animals, stray animals, that he will heal them, and they live, but they stay in the house with him. But the people don't get to come in. And he kind of tells the little girl, like, it's kind of like that, but you know, he's going to do what he can for the little puppy and stuff, but the puppy will live. He tells the little girl that. Um, and bam, we catch up with Laila Starr. Laila Starr is looking for Darius, and it has been some years again since she's seen Darius. And sure enough, she has finally located where he is, and she has realized that it's back at the beginning of the story. Um, we finally do catch up with Laila and Darius, and this time it isn't so hostile as it was before. As a matter of fact, Darius actually apologized to her right off the bat. Says that maybe it was just a haste, maybe it was everything that was going on in his life, you know, but he wanted someone to blame, and that was kind of the part. He even tells Laila that at one point he went out searching for her after that moment because he wanted to apologize or maybe vent some more and, you know, maybe blame some other stuff on her. And he says, you know, life's funny that way. He kind of goes through and, you know, he explains different pieces of the story that we've seen, but, you know, most part, if you've been reading or listening to my version of it, they kind of explain as it goes anyways, you know, that some of these things are just life. He does finally reveal a secret that that the last time that they met, Laila Starr had thought that he had not invented immortality, and he tells her that he did a long time ago, actually. And yes, he did create immortality. At some point, he got tired of death stepping in the way, and so he figured out how to get rid of death. He went home one day, figured it out, created it, and put it in a shoebox and stuck it up in his closet. At that point, once he stopped death, he kind of like started living his life. He left the thing in the shoebox, you know, whatever the said thing is, and he started, you know, exploring different parts of the world, talking to people he hadn't talked to in years, just sitting down and enjoying a sunset, you know, stuff like that. He says the fact that he had created immortality and not used it kind of brought a different sense, a piece that he was missing from his life. He says since he had started the journey trying to defeat death, he lost what was most important, or what should have been most important, and just life in general. Eventually he comes to the understanding that he never really wanted to create the immortality thing, and never really wasn't sure if he wanted to use it. He honestly goes back into the one thing he really regrets, and because he spent so much time trying to figure out how to create immortality, he lacked fathership with his son. And through the years, him and his son just became two separate people that weren't even connected as family anymore. The last days of his life, getting closer to those days of the life, especially because Laila Starr is right at hand. He tells Laila that he wants to, you know, reconnect with his son again. We do see that, you know, he kind of explains what he does for the puppies, and he just explains that, you know, that usually when you see something dying and it's, you know, there are signs that you can see right away that it still wants to live, and it's those dying breaths. And he was like, most people think it's magic or something like that when I heal these animals. And he was like, usually it's just a matter of looking at the animal and he can see the will to live kind of thing. He brought up another point within him on how valuable life was, and how even in our last moments we still fight, you know, with every breath in us to keep on living. And he says within, you know, figuring that out, you know, he finally kind of wants to reconnect with his son. He eventually does. The son does fly in from where he is, and they do spend his final days with Darius, you know, his father. Darius does finally pass away silently in the night or something like that. There is a, you know, a brief little ceremony. The son is offered the shoebox, the immortality, and it's not wanted. He turns around, Darius turns around and offers the shoebox to Laila, and tells her that now it is hers and she can do with it, whatever she wants. She could either destroy it or she could hand it out, because maybe she liked taking a break from not being death, or she wanted her job back. At the end, they kind of show, and don't quote me, but I want to say when I'm not going to say, but we see one of the other gods and he shows up. He's the boss god. I'm not very well versed with Hindu gods offhand. I want to say it's all of them. But we do see, and he shows up and he tells Laila, hey, what you going to do with the, with the box? I'm sorry about your friend. You spent a lot of time with him over the years. And we just show that then Laila puts the box in the sea and just kind of lets it take it out to sea, and that's the last we see of the immortality in a box kind of thing. And Darius is they show a little bit of a ceremony, and that's it, basically stating that life is more precious than anything else, and you should fight for it and enjoy it while you got it, kind of thing. Next up from Marvel, we got Spider-Man Sinster War #4, and it's not Spider-Man, it's just Sinster War. This is the very last issue into the story of the Sinster War. It is 6 teams of Sinister 6 bad guys going after Spider-Man. They all have Kindred implants inside their brains, and so they are forced to go after Kindred, after Spider-Man. And if they don't, they will die. And basically, it's just I'm just going to flip through this because basically it's just Spider-Man still flip-flopping all over the place trying to survive while all 36 bad guys are just going to town. They do have this thing where Spider-Man hasn't fought some of these guys, like the Living Laser, Great Gargoyle, and stuff like that. And he is able to, since he hasn't fought them in forever, they're kind of like, he's at a higher scale than the first time he met him, so he kind of gets rid of a lot of the guys easily. Kindred kind of gets pissed off because he wants Spider-Man to just die. He set up this whole thing just so he could die, this massive, warrior, funeral ending type thing, and Spider-Man's still not just dying, They do show him flip-flopping, fighting, getting beat up, all over the place from all kind of different villains, and at the same time the villains are fighting each other, over Spider-Man. Like this one scene where Juggernaut grabs Grey Gargoyle and Lizard because they grab Spider-Man first, and he throws them off to wherever. But eventually we do get to a major scene in the book. I don't remember his name. I think it is something like, 1 second, because it is important. Yeah, I don't remember. Okay, but I think his name is like Sin Eater or something like that. But he is about to kill Spider-Man. He met Spider-Man a long time ago, and he promised that when he met Spider-Man, he would kill him. At the very last second, we see the Boomerang jumps in his way, and this guy grabs Boomerang in his place and tells him that because he did that, he's gonna kill him, and he does not lie. He drains all of Boomerang's life and throws him down. Boomerang, just hits the ground and is like a husk now. Spider-Man goes nuts. He starts beating the living crud out of everybody. You can see it's the first time since the book has started that Spider-Man is really fighting back, and for good reason. We see that Boomerang's group is really pissed that this happened, especially because it was another villain, and they're all supposed to be kind of on the same team, even though they're all different teams. So they actually start fighting all the Sinister Six. So now it's 7 against the 24 or whatever remaining. Kindred is getting really, really pissed. In the background, the whole time, Doc Ock has been doing something, as they show here, and he's kind of been, but they don't really show what he's doing. He's kind of in the background, little by little, and they show him in different panels, until this moment right here, that he finally activates what he's been doing. And come to find out, Dr. Octopus is a slave to no man, right? I love me some Doc Ock. He's one of my favorite Spidey villains, but he has figured out the technology that Kindred has been using with his like demon parasite things, and he finally figured out how to cancel out the signal of all those like, you know, demon parasite things in everybody's heads. So now they are all kind of like passed out, besides Peter and Dr. Octopus. And that's kind of where they leave it. Doc Ock and Spidey, he tells them that I didn't do it to save you kind of thing, but I'm just, you know, I'm not going to be a pawn to Kindred type thing, and that's the end of the issue as far as they're concerned. They do show that, you know, like, that Doctor Strange and Mephisto are still in the casino playing, you know, gambling and stuff like that, and it looks like Mephisto has lost because Spider-Man is out of the situation. So it looks like we got one more issue coming, I think tomorrow, in Spider-Man 73, and that's going to be the final issue of everything. All right, so Avengers number 48 with the Winter Hulk, or as we've dubbed her, She-Bulk. Man, what a great issue! Amazing art, amazing story. We're just catching up with Gorilla Man. He's at a bar. He's trying to get people to fight him because he's mad that he betrayed the Avengers. Well, not mad, just kind of sad, and a lot of weird stuff that he betrayed the Avengers and everything. As he is trying to get these other villains to fight him, you know, She-Hulk busts through and she with massive force, Gorilla instantly grabbing Gorilla Man, and Gorilla Man is freaked the hell out. We do see all the other villains get all pissed because they really wanted to kill Gorilla Man. I mean, he's kind of notoriously known as a traitor now. We do see one of her new powers, that she has this green smoke stuff, and it just like acid like burns through all the other villains. I mean, she kills everybody there. She basically grabs Gorilla Man and takes off. There is like a moment where he is able to like, hey Jenny, you know, and she kind of reacts like she's trying to fight the Red Room programming, as they show in different scenes, but she is able to kind of tell Gorilla Man what went down as far as like some of the things they did in the Red Room, but it looks like Dracula may have gotten hold of some of that blood. They flip over, and Blade and is on, you know, he is being sent to this location. Black Panther had sent him to this location to investigate, and sure enough, She-Hulk has already been here and devastated and killed a bunch of these vampires. We do catch up on Adventure Mountain, and we catch up with like Maya and Thor and T'Challa, and Maya is trying to explain to Thor about some visions she's had recently through the Phoenix Force, and Thor doesn't want to hear nothing. He actually tells her to shut up. We get here and back to what She-Hulk and Gorilla Man's doing, but they get to probably their main mission. But Gorilla Man tells her that, you know, she doesn't want to be here because we find out they are, you know, directly over Atlantis. And she just takes off and goes down to the bottom of the ocean. We see instantly after she leaves that Atlanteans, you know, pop up and try and take out Gorilla Man, which does not happen. They end up injuring him, but yeah, that's about it. But we see what happens in the water, and She-Hulk just goes nuts. I mean, there are dead Atlanteans all right there. It was a massive like war party that was waiting for them, and they're just dead. We see Gorilla Man after his little battle, and he is injured, but at the same time he's still going. She-Hulk for some reason pops back up and then goes right back down, and it is here that we find out what her main mission is, and it is to assassinate Namor, King of Atlantis. For some reason the Winter Guard wants him dead, and all the other Atlanteans, so they have sent She-Hulk to make sure that it happens. The very last panel shows Gorilla Man diving in the water, looking like maybe to go help her or betray her. I don't know. We'll have to find out. And in the next issue of Avengers, the World War She-Hulk Part 4. That's all my reviews. I got more reviews coming up. I'm going to try and knock out as many as I can. Today is New Comic Book Day, DC day, and then tomorrow is our regular new comic book day. But please like, comment, subscribe, share if you'd like to, and I'll be back in a little while. All right, guys. Bye.